Hello everyone, welcome to the day 3 of Microsoft Azure Bootcamp. It is the initiative of Azure Developer Community India, and we are helping you all the community folks with our lots of initiatives to learn cloud for free. And today we are having our expert speak again here with us, Dilip Paisa. He has been teaching you all the AC 900 fundamentals and the core concepts about Azure with the hands-on learning experiences. And today he's going to cover most of the solution and security features with the hands-on practices. So not wasting much more time, and yeah, some of you really asked about the slides of yesterday's session, so you will get the slides after today's session. So just stay tuned, and you will be getting everything over your mail. You will be getting every update through your mail. So yeah, so Dilip sir is there. Over to you, sir.
Hey guys, good evening. Welcome to the session, and it's a Sunday evening. So let's make the Sunday evening fruitful and end our weekend on a high note, right? Something learning new things and so on. Yeah, with this, let's get started and let's recap a bit on yesterday's part. So, yesterday, what did we learn? So, yesterday, as I told you, in the first session, we went to the cloud concepts, right? So, what is cloud, the different types of clouds, and different types of cloud services, and so on, right? So, post that, yesterday, we had some good session on um, the portal introduction. What is Azure, at least in terms of the Microsoft offering of Azure, and what is the portal? We just had a walkthrough to portal, different types of interaction to the portal, right? So basically, it's all the API calls what's happening now. So we had to interact with the portal in one or the other way. So we saw some of the interactions, that is the PowerShell, Bash, and everything. Probably the easy interactive command. But one thing what is important is, so to communicate with the services, AZCLI is one of the must services what is required. Okay, so with this, we then came up with started with the compute services in Azure. We saw what are VMs. We created one Linux VM using all the sandbox environment. Also, we also saw something called the sandbox, where you guys can go to that particular sandbox environment and then you can just see or explore, create the services and so on. So they have n number of exercises. So for a Microsoft guy, right, anyone who's working on a Microsoft technologies, so I think this is one of the best documentations with Microsoft can provide or is providing for us at the moment. Yeah, so you can just, um, I generally tend to support Microsoft more because I have been working on Microsoft documentation. But if I see some of the other documentation, right, I need to go to various other resources, like probably Stack Overflow here, there, and or another places. But with Microsoft, you can find everything at one places, that is MS Docs. Okay, so note this in mind. So probably if you are going to work in Microsoft technologies or Microsoft future, you might need this quite often. So I generally refer this MS Docs as a bible for us. Okay, so post this, after this we saw VMs, what are VMs, why it is used, and also we created one of the Linux VMs. Suppose that we skip some of the services, then we went to the networking services. Okay, why this networking services is there? Because ideally we can't expose everything to the outer world, right? We need to keep a boundary. To interact with this boundary, we need some of the resources here and there, and that's when networking comes into picture, right? So firewall networking and all comes into picture. Okay, so here how we started is basically a VNet is a base for all. It creates a clear boundary to communicate with the Azure, within the Azure resources, from the Azure resources to the outside world to the Azure resources, and so on. Okay, um, so we also created one of the VNet rule of exposing our port 80, so that this IP was exposed to anyone who uses the port 80 through their computer, that is the HTTP port. Okay, and then we saw it is quite easy, right? Following those commands using the sandbox and exposing. Yeah, so this is how you set the rules. We saw something called the inbound outbound rules, right? So inbound is from the outer world to here, um, coming to from the outer world, accessing the Azure resources. Outbound, where from the Azure resources you go to the um, outer world. Okay, so this is inbound and outbound rules. So these are things on some of the networkings. Yeah, so now today let's see some of the more compute services what is there in Azure. Yeah, so Let's get started, guys. So yeah, hopefully my screen is visible, right? So you see, these are some of the compute rules. What are the compute resources or compute services? What are there in Azure? Yeah. So let's see some of them one by one now. So we covered virtual desktop also yesterday, and virtual machines also, right? So let's go to the next slide then. Yeah, virtual machines. Yes, we got to know what is this and so on. Okay, so VM scale set. Why this VM scale set was used? Um, uh, okay, why this VM scale set was used, and whenever you want to scale up or scale in your VMs and so.
Sir, your sorry to interrupt in between. Your
Yeah,
screen is not visible.
it's not visible. Okay, okay, sorry. I'll just visible. I'll just reshare again. Sorry, my bad. Is it visible now?
Yeah, perfect. It's visible, sir. Perfect.
Great, great. Sorry for that. Yeah. So virtual machines we saw, and we saw the VM scale set. Why VM scale sets are used? Because at times when we want to scale the VMs where our application is hosted, we probably we can't do things manually. That's when VM scale set comes into picture. Um Also availability sets, we saw about the fault domain and the update domain, where updates are rolled out at one particular domain at once, and next domain is update domain is gone, will be sent to the customer to use. And fault domain is basically when fault one domain goes down, other domain will be available for customer to use. Okay. We also saw this exercise of creating virtual machine. Okay, and then virtual desktop. Yes, we saw this. Okay, so we'll see what are the container services. So before this, I'm just I was just expecting one more slide. Okay, okay. So now, what are these container services or container instances? So you might have heard the concept of Dockers quite often these days, right? And bit confused on what is this containers and so on. Okay, so Docker is one of the container. Why this container is used? Let me just show you with one of the easiest example what I imagined of why this Docker is used. Yeah. So yeah. So consider I have a virtual machine. Okay, I have this VM. Okay, VMA. Yeah, and I have another VM called VMB. Yeah, I have this two VMs. Okay, now or let's tell I need multiple applications to run here and here. Okay, so there are my two applications running here and here. It is running smoothly. Yeah, so it was running smoothly all these days. Now my company has decided to do sort of cost cutting. In this cost cutting, what will happen? They will tell me no longer use this VMB. Okay, fine. I'll no longer use, but this application should be put in the VMA, right? Okay, that also I'll do. Now the catch here is, let's just focus on VMA now. Yeah, I've installed all the applications over here into the VMA. Okay, okay, VMA application A and application B. So any application to run, there might be some sort of dependencies, right? So there might be sort of dependencies. Those dependencies like probably other third party applications or any such dependencies. Okay, so here what I'll do, here I'll have three dependencies called X, Y, Z. Okay, these three dependencies are required for application A to run. Okay, now what will happen is, for application B also there might be some of the dependencies to run. So here what I'll do, M N O. So these three are the dependencies for the virtual machine B. Okay, things was working fine when it was into separate VM. Now I have put this into the same VM. Now what will happen is X will tell that if M is there, I cannot function. So X cannot function when the N is there. Z cannot function when M is there. Okay, because of their processor issues and so on. Okay, so these things happen. Now both applications will not work. It's a loss for company. So neither they can go with the new VM. No, they can't do it. In this case, that's when the containers come into picture. Okay, so what they do with this container is basically in a VM they just put insert a container. Okay, in this container they put A, okay, application A, and they put all the dependencies X, Y, Z, and one more container they will add. This is application B here, M, N, O. So three one the container is just like another box. Okay, so he had put one, I had taken two box and put one application A, and in another box I put application B. Now these both I take and put it in a virtual machine. Okay, now A is thinking that I am the only one in this virtual machine because I'm inside this box. So when you are in the box, you can't see the outside world, right? Same thing happen over here. Similarly, B will think that okay, I'm only one in the box, I'm only one in the virtual machine. Okay, so A will think that B is not there, or X will think that probably its counterpart N is not there, and Z will think that M is not there. Okay, so both will function simultaneously. Okay, so this is what a container does. Okay, so these are the virtualization environment. Okay, so here it's also the virtualization environment. So basically you're virtualizing the things. Okay, but it's not a virtual machine. Why? It doesn't contain a OS, so you're not managing the OS or anything. It's just a very lightweight system which can be put into any VM without the operation of the virtual machine. So no OS, no hyper, this just based on the hypervisors stuff. Okay, so this is the concept of containerization. The best example of containerization is Docker. Okay, and there are other things also, but Docker is quite commonly used. Okay, so Azure also has its container service, Azure container instances, or also you can tell that Azure container registry also is there. Okay, so why this Azure container instances? So basically I containerize the application, I need to host it somewhere, right? Even though it's a lightweight, I need to host it somewhere. So this can be done by either two things. Okay, so this can be either done by the Docker registry. I am just putting a application here into a Docker registry, but the problem over here is this is public. Okay, if my application is sort of private, then probably it just becomes a headache for the developers or the functional guys to take care of it, right? What will happen, they need to take care of everything and someone else can use the application. If you want to use a private registry, then you ideally need to pay for Docker. but with azure but with Azure, what you can do is they give you a container instances to run the containers. Also they can give the container registry to save all these images files. So anything a container will take, right? So as I showed you in this diagram, a container, this is exposed as an image. So the virtual machine will think that okay, it's just an image, it's just running an image. Okay, to run this image we need container or Docker registry or Azure container instances. Next comes the Azure Kubernetes services. So Kubernetes services, why it's there? I'll just give you one more example. So I think most of you have seen the orchestras in the Hollywood movies, right? Or any of the orchestras, if you guys have seen. So there's one, this guy just standing in front of the musicians and waving his hands like this with the stick, right? What he's doing, he's just telling you do this notes high, you know this notes low. This set of people go on a high note, this set of people go on a lower notes. So that's his job, right? Okay, same thing is done by Kubernetes. So Kubernetes, what he will do is he'll take all these Docker images, he will orchestrate the things. Okay, so whenever the pod is slow, he'll probably replicate it or scale it and manages the thing. So that's what is done by Kubernetes. Okay, it can be hosted as a separate services, but again Azure also gives us instance of Azure Kubernetes services. Okay, it's an orchestration services for the containers. These containers are there, no, for these containers it's the orchestration services. Okay, so I hope I am clear on Azure Kubernetes services or Azure container instances. Okay, okay. I hope I'm clear now. So what I'll do is I'll just show you where you can find this. Okay, so I'll just go to portal. Also, I'll go to Docker registry. So Docker again is sort of a GitHub stuff only, but it just stores the images. You just need to pull the images into your Docker. Okay, so if you see, this is the Docker hub. If I want a instance of a SQL, okay, so I'll just type SQL. Yeah, so you see, create DB, I can get multiple images. So Ubuntu SQL, okay, and so on. So these are basically open source, but there might be some of the private repositories. So this is something paid. Okay, so if you want a private repository registry, then you need to pay for it. Okay, this problem is solved by Azure. So where you can see it, just go to here. Yep, I have logged in here. So this is the portal looks like. So what I'll do here, I'll just go to containers. I'll see containers if I get any. See, containers, container instances, and container registries are there. So container registries, I currently don't have any. It's just a placeholder or a repository of all your images. So this is where you can get all, store all your images. You just need to create one and add all your images, whatever you have locally, to here. You can do that. Okay. Now, to run this images, what I'll do, I'll generally in if from Docker point of view, if it was there. So what I'll do, I'll just go to, I'll just give a try. I don't know, it'll work probably. Let me take any simple image. Okay, so I'll just take this. Okay, so you see here, this command is there. Now if I just go to the Docker, okay, so my Docker is running now. So you see, Docker is running. This is the Docker desktop generally. So it'll just create a sort of container virtualization environment in your system only for a local development. Okay, so now what I'll do, I'll just go to one of the PowerShell. Let me see whether this works. Yeah, I've opened my PowerShell. Now what I'll do is I'll just paste this command what I have over here. Okay, so what it will do, it will just go to Docker, pull the image over here, and this will expose the IP so that I can use this IP in my local system for Azure SQL development. But okay, so let me just download this. You can see the images over here. Okay, so it will take some time. Okay, so you see, pulling all the images from this. Again, okay, so this is a very vast ocean. Okay, so it's just a small step towards the shore what we are taking in. Okay, so we need to go to the mid of the ocean to know these things, concepts in details more. Okay, so so it will pull the image accordingly. So Azure made us still more lazy. So what it'll tell, you just don't do these things also. You just give the link to me, I'll take care of it. So if I see here, Azure container, Azure container instances. Yeah, I'll create one. So resource group, let it be hands-on easy 900 for now. Container name daily is testing. Okay. And ability to, I'll not select for now. Quick start. So what I'll do here, I can just do quick start images, or I'll do just other registry, and here I'll just copy this particular images. Okay, this particular image link. Okay. So what I'll do, yeah. So OS type will let it be Linux. I'll okay. So next networking, I'll just review and create it. Okay, so here you see everything is created over here. So here what I need to do, I just need to go and see the, so this one image is running, I just need to go and access this image. Okay, so okay, so instead of all these things, what I can do is I'll just add it here over here. Okay, so it will just give me IP, I can access that IP. That's how simple Azure container instances work for us. Okay, so this is the concept of Azure container instances. Kubernetes is quite complex, we need multiple images, so we will not be covering that at least for this level. Yeah, so yeah, let's wait for the deployment to complete. Okay, so okay, bad request, because probably the container is not supporting this, or the Docker registry is not supporting it. Anyways, it's just an example site, so this is how you can do it way too easily. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so Azure functions. Okay, so this is one of the new things. Okay, so I'll just come back to this, we'll park it. I'll just cover the app services, and then we'll come back over here. Okay, so I'll tell you why I have done this. So, yeah, just a normal comparison, I'll be sharing this PPT, so please have a look and for a better comparisons and so on. Okay, now Azure app service, we saw a VM is basically infrastructure as a service. Then things were working fine when you were managing your OS and so on, but things become a problem when you want to focus more on development and less on the infrastructure side. So what Azure does, as I told you, Azure tries to make you more lazy. Yeah, so that's when Azure, what they did, they developed this service called a app service, where they tell, get only your application and their data. When I mean application, your exe files and whatever data you need, you get it. Rest everything, whatever required for a system to run, will be taken care of by us. So that's basically PaaS, right? So similarly, Azure app service is one of the PaaS service. Okay, so it is one of the fully managed platform to build, deploy and scale web apps. So web apps means nothing but the web applications, whatever applications stream and everything else, those are nothing but a web application. So I don't think so these are hosted on a VM or anywhere, it's just a normal web application, public applications, where anyone can go and access. Okay, so here you can work with any applications. Okay, .NET, .NET Core, Node.js, Java, Python, PHP, also React and so on. Okay, Node, I mean, it's basically running on a Node framework again. Okay, so it's a PaaS offering. So let's see how to create one. Yeah, just go to home. So I have one of the app service over here. So I'll just show how to create one, then we'll see what this does. Okay, so I had earlier what I did is I deployed one of the code from my DevOps applications to here. It was just a to-do list. Okay, something like that I did. How to create this? Okay, so you need to go on a create resources, you see this web app. Yeah, you just need to create one. Okay, I'll just use this, and web app name is, Yeah, so publish it from the code. Okay, I'll select this runtime stack. Stack is nothing but the programming language, so I'll just use the .NET Core 3.1. The operating system, which operating system it should run on. Yeah, so region, let it be US, and this is the app service plan. So ideally app service plan, you don't manage a CPU or anything, but behind it's a virtual machine, right? It's a CPU to run. So it just gives you some of the plans, you can choose whatever you want. Okay, so I'll just see what are the different app service plan it gives. Let's see this. So you see, dev test, the free infrastructure plan, the shared infrastructure plan. You can have the custom domains over here. Custom domains is like dilippai.azure uh, .com or something like that. Because by default, this gives you its own domain like XYZ. So my name is Dilip is testing.azure website.net. Okay, so that's how it gives. Okay, and see the features over here. I hope the screen is visible. If not, I'll just zoom it more. Yeah, so if you see here the custom domains, the memory it gives here is um, this, and the storage of 1 GB up to 1 GB storage plan it gives. The production environment, something suitable for production environment, it gives the custom domains as well as SSL. So what is SSL? Is basically HTTPS. Okay, auto scale. So scaling, I told you in VM, right? So similarly here also auto scale. So whenever the CPU percent or the load on the application is more than certain amount, it will go and auto scale up. Staging slot. So staging slot is one more concept where you have multiple similar environments. So when in a DevOps world, when you do a mistake on production, you can just roll back quickly. So that's when the staging comes into picture. Daily backups, the traffic manager, and 50 GB up to storage. So these are the different plan, and where you select is basically a app service plan. Okay, right now I just need a free one. I'll just apply it. Okay, I'll review and create it. I'll create it. Okay, so let me just try if we can deploy some code. Okay, I'll just go to the my IDE. I'll just close this, I no more need this. Okay, yeah, so this is deployed now. So if you see here, see, I told, right, the URL will be azurewebs.net. So now this is deployed here, but if I just right click and publish it, the code will be deployed here. So that's how in the app service. Okay, so no need to configure the rules by external handle. By default, this is the public one. So I just deployed one of the APIs. So let me see if I still have it. So I think it's this. So what I did, I wrote the code, right click on the application, and there is option of publishing the application, and I just gave a target of this. Okay, so it was that simple over here. See, this is sort of a website what I did, or a task applications what I did. So it has Swagger, you can see. I'll just show you. It's just loading. So I just a task manager. So I'll just write to-do items post. Okay. So ID is probably one, and the name is remind me, or AZ 900 at 7:30. Okay. Is complete false. I'm not yet completed it. So, and one more I'll post. Um, 2 is the 900 tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So this is just a normal program, okay? It's nothing, I just published it. You see, this is not, I'm not executing this in local, it's just a website what I'm executing in. Okay, so this is very simple than the VM. Anyone can access it. It's also secure. So you can see the website, I'm getting the response from the server. Okay, so this is how easy the app service is. Okay, um you can just try it, go ahead and give it a try. Fine. Now next, let's see. Okay, so app service, web app, everyone is clear, right? Okay, so what we'll do, I'll come back to one more thing called functions. Okay, so functions is basically known as serverless as a service, also known as serverless as service. Okay, so why this is used is basically, so for every small task or a events. Okay, so consider I'm posting this API into the cloud, or this is a job, or consider the previous API whatever I showed, right? Task manager, consider it as a job. So probably every 7 o'clock tomorrow it will ping me, okay Dilip, take AZ 900 class. Okay, now what will happen, ideally this is a larger job and more computing power is taken. But for smaller job, probably consider my birthday is there next month or sometime then. So what I'll tell, okay, or my friend's birthday is there next month, I'll tell him, okay boss, every year you need to remind me at this date on 2 days before. Okay, so his birthday is considered on Jan 31st. Just remind me on Jan 30th that okay, his birthday is there. Now for this, if I write a job and keep it hosted, isn't it taking too much of computing power, and it's a loss, right, for me, for a very small event? To overcome this, what Azure did is basically a serverless as a service. It means that there are underlying servers, but there is a pool of server, and you are just given one particular bit of server to host your application. So when it does your work, gives you output and goes to sleep, so that no resources are consumed. Okay, so this is how the serverless as a service works. Okay, why this saves cost? Because ideally you're not using your dedicated servers, you are just using a server from the pool of services. Okay, lightweight, this is very lightweight, no much infrastructure. It's just one function, you just right click, write your code, deploy, boom. Okay, so here there are triggers. Now you will tell me, okay boss, how you will tell me that, okay, trigger the mail at this time and so on. Okay, so Azure functions has basically multiple triggers. Okay, triggers like database trigger, queue trigger, and something when hit database, trigger this functions. When something hits the queue, trigger this function. Timer trigger this function for every time. Such triggers are there. Okay, so these triggers can be used in functions. So this is how the function will get to know when to trigger, what to trigger. What to trigger is basically your code. When to trigger is basically this timer function. So this is again a serverless approach, lightweight, hence consuming the lighter cost. Okay, so this is why I wanted to tell you at the end. So this is also app service in the end, but you're again not managing the whole service also. It just a server is not in app service, server is dedicated to you, right? So as we saw, we created an app service plan, that app service plan is dedicated to you. But in case of functions, the app service plan is not dedicated to you. You're just given a piece of server from the pools. Okay, so that's how they save cost and money. Okay, they also save, you also save. Okay, so I hope I'm clear with the functions also. Yeah, any doubts you have, please ping in. Yeah, we saw this networking services, configure networking services, and so on. Okay, storage. So one important chapter in cloud, basically storage. When you see storage, there might be different types of storage, like the database, the blobs. Okay, I'll tell you what is blobs in sometimes, and the file storage, the VM's disk, and so on. There might be multiple different types of storage, right? We'll be covering some of the services like the blobs, okay, in this module. Okay, as part of our AZ 900 initiative. Okay, so now what I'll do, what is the storage? So Here we'll be seeing the Azure storage services, the tires, the redundancy options. I'll just tell you what is that in a while. Okay. Storage accounts. So basically, storage account is nothing but again a placeholder for all these different storage services. Okay. So different storage services in case of storage are basically storage account is a top level, a container. In this you have blobs, queues, and files, also tables. So these are the four different types of storage services in case of storage account. Okay, we'll be just focusing more on the blob. Okay, as part of this AZ 900 syllabus. Okay, so let's see how to create a storage account now. Yeah, so just go to resource, create a resource, type storage account. See, storage account is there over here. I'll create one resource group. Let it be hands on easy 900 for now. The leap region, let it be. So you see redundancy here, geo redundant, different types of redundancy here, locally redundant storage, geo redundant storage, zone redundant storage, and geo zone redundant storage. So we'll see what is that also in a while. Okay. Um, so we'll just keep a GRS for now. I'll just go ahead and create it. Okay. So the storage account is being created. It'll just take a minute or two. Generally, this Azure resources, when you deploy, it'll take some minute or two. Okay, so I'll just go to resources. So you see containers, that is the blobs. Okay, I'll tell you what is blobs in some time. The file share to share your files and so on. Okay, the queues. Basically, this is sort of a messaging services, but it is again a part of the storage account. Okay, and the tables. Tables are nothing but stores your values in key value format. Okay, so these are the four types of data storage options available in storage account. Okay, now we saw something called LRS, GRS, right? What is that? So let's see what is that again. Yeah. So basically, locally there are four types of redundancies. What is redundancy? Redundancy is nothing but data copy, right? Your data copying to other regions, right? So basically, there are four types of redundancy options: locally redundant storage, zone redundant storage, geo redundant storage, and geo zone redundant storage. Let's see what's this. Yeah. So yesterday I told you the concept of the availability zones and all, right? So probably we'll try to link it over here. Yeah. So locally redundant storage is basically one data center will be there. Okay. So consider Bangalore data center. So this is LRS. In Bangalore data storage center, one storage account will be there. Okay. Just now we created one storage account. So same copy will be into of three different racks. Okay. So this is imagine this as a racks. Okay. So same copy will be placed into three different racks. Advantage cheap, disadvantage data center goes down or the rack goes down, gone. Okay. um so when this is used is basically when your applications can be reconstructed, very less amount of data is used and so on. Okay, so this is LRS, that is locally redundant storage. Next is zone redundant storage. So what is zone redundant storage? So we saw the availability zones, right? Within the data center or within the region there will be multiple availability zones, right? So what we'll do, this storage account, one rack will be there, this copy is there here, copy 1, same storage account is replicated into other availability zones 2, and copy is kept copy 2, same storage account is kept again here, copy 3. Okay, so this is how the zone redundant storage works. Yeah, so it is replicated across the availability zones, but in the primary region only. So you have the primary region, secondary region in the region pairs, right? So in the region pairs, so consider South Indian region, the data center has been Bangalore, Chennai and Hyderabad. So right, three data centers are created, the one storage account and the copy is placed in each of the data centers. Okay, so that is zone redundant storage. Okay, so next is basically geo redundant storage, GRS. So what is geo redundant storage? So basically what happens is, here one data center, you yesterday I told the concept of region pairs, right? In region pair there is the primary region and secondary region. Okay, consider if South India region in Bangalore data center, one storage account is there, one, it will create a storage account here, three copies here in the same data center, and this whole thing is replicated into secondary region. Okay, CP. So this is geo redundant storage. Now last one is geo zone redundant storage. Combination of zone redundant storage and geo redundant storage makes a geo zone redundant storage. So basically zone redundant storage, primary region, three data centers, copy, copy. Now second region, one copy is kept, one storage account and one copy is kept. So whenever this goes down, this wakes up, or whole region goes down, this wakes up. Latency is low, but this is very high available. Okay, highly available. Okay, so I hope I'm clear in terms of this. So this is sort of confusing, but I think that I have explained the concepts over here. So please tell me if you guys are confused about anything in this context. Just waiting for a minute or two. Okay, um so let's move on. I told you the different types of services are containers, files, and disk storage. So disk storage are nothing but in Azure virtual machine, you have actually disk in placed in the data centers, right? So that disk storage, this is basically. So these three are, so container blob. What is blob? Blob is like a binary large object data. So let me give a very good example when this blob is used. Okay. So previously what used to happen, consider a employee form. Okay. You used to store a image. So in this image, what you used to do, you used to convert it to binary, store it, and when accessing this, again reconvert it to the object and show it into the picture or website. Previously, this approach was there, but making you lazy, converting again image to binary, reconverting back, sort of headache. Okay, that's when blob is just used. In blob, you can actually store any sort of data. By meaning any sort of data, it means text, images, JSON file, your PDF, resumes, salary slips, photos, anything you can store in blob. Okay, so we'll see what is blob, how to create a blob, and so on. Okay, so these are some of the other services: blob storage, data lake, Azure files, queue storage, table storage. So we saw that, right? Various types of storages. What were there? Yeah. So let me tell you again what is this. But before this, okay, so hot storage. So basically in blob, right, you're charged according to the access tiers, how you are accessing the data. For some data which is frequently accessed is known as hot storage tier. Okay, here saving is less. Okay, so saving is more. Okay, accessing costs is less. Okay, sorry, I'm other way around. Sorry, accessing cost is less, but saving. Sorry, accessing cost is more, but saving cost is less over here. Okay, so but here it's the other way around. So there are three types of thing: hot, cool. So this is basically for storing the data can be accessed the frequently. Okay, so you are accessing the data once in a while. okay, or once in 1 month or once in 2 months, then you need to go for cool tier infrequently, once in a month or once in 2 months. Or one more access tier is there where you are accessing this data once in 6 months, but you can't delete this. So that's when archive tier comes into picture. Okay, so this is basically for blobs where you need are stored for more than 180 days. Okay, so whenever now you will ask me now, I want to access the archive data, how it will be done. Okay, so whenever you want to access the archive data, it needs to be converted to hot or cool tier before. Okay, generally it's converted to hot tier, and this process is known as rehydration. So please note it down, it's one of the most important chapter. So rehydration is a process of converting a access tier from archive to hot or cool, and this generally take 15 hours of time. But if you are a priority user, it can be done in 3 hours or 1 hour max. Okay, this is for only the priority users or the gold partners and so on. Okay, so let's see how to create a blob and create a storage account, and so as part of the exercise. Yeah, so we'll go to our portal. I have created a blob already. I'll create a container. Container is one more placeholder again. Okay, so you might have hearing containers for quite a long time now, but different containers has a different meaning again. But containers a placeholder in blob. Container means it just stores all the blob data. Okay, in virtualization environment it just stores all the images. In resource group it stores all the resources. Okay, so I have created a blob. I can upload anything here. So if I just choose upload, I need to edit for one. I'll just change it to blob anonymous access so that everyone can access it for now. I'll choose to upload. What shall I upload now? Let's see. Let's get try to upload a image. Okay, so if I wanted to share you this PowerPoint, I can make use of this technology. What I'll do, I'll just select this PowerPoint today. Now if I want to access is what I'll do, I'll just go here. You can see this URL. Now what I'll do, I'll just do like this. I'll go for incognito, so acting that this as a different computer. So you see I got a URL. If I just enter this URL, the PowerPoint is downloaded in mine. So this is how you create a blob and upload and access a blob. Okay, so you might ask, what if it was a private level, if I want to secure it? Then there are some identity rules which we'll be seeing in coming chapters, what is identity and so on. But this is how simple the blob is and how to access it. Also one more very good example I can show of how making use of blob. So what I did, I just created one of the blob and uploaded my resume in this. Okay, so what I did, I just went here. I created a static website of the blog, so I can base host a static website also here. So if you see here, right, so this is my resume. I actually uploaded this website into Blob so that I can share this with anyone without actually having a server for it. Right. So good. Right. That's how you can make good use of technologies. Okay. So this is my resume, what I had prepared some time back, and I hosted it into Blob because it's actually very free for me because I hardly access. So I made it as a cool tier. It's charging me very minimal cost. Okay, so this is how blobs can make an impact for you guys. Okay, next. So now migration comes place when you want to migrate. So there is this service called Azure Migrate. It gives a uniform migration platforms. Okay, so they are integrated and standalone tools like Azure Migration Factory, Data Factory, and multiple other tools for you to migrate. Okay, next one is basically Azure Data Box. So what is this data box? So data box is actually a box, physical box. So whenever you have your on premises data, right, and you want to migrate this to cloud, but you are sort of security, you can't directly upload this. So what you do is you just go and raise a request of Azure data box. So they send you the box to your work location. You just need to connect, enter connect it to PC, enter username and password, put all your data from on-prem to the Azure data box. It will actually be transferred, then they only take it, secure it, and upload it into your portal. That's how simple the Azure had made for your data migration and stuff. Okay, so also it protects our data in case a red gets sick, because as I told you, right, your data is again a data, it's one of the costliest things. So what it does, that case is also very protected to store your data. Okay, so migrate data to Azure from a remote locations. Okay, so consider what will happen. You want to migrate data to Azure, but you don't have connections, but you have your data. You just call them up, bring the data box, migrate it, and move. Okay, so this is Azure migrate. Okay, so these are the file maps. So AZ copy is basically to copy the blobs from one storage account to other storage account. This is the storage explorer, and one more tool is called Azure file sync. Okay, so AZ copy is one of the tool, you can download it through the CLI. Storage explorer, what you can do is I can show you over here. So let me just see if I can find one. So storage browser. So here you have all the storage browsers, what are the blob containers, everything you can very easily view it. Okay, blob containers and so on, recently viewed. Okay, so everything you can view it over here in a storage account. Okay, so with this we have completed the storage part, right? So any doubts you have, please ping in. We'll just move into the next um, chapter of identity. Before we start, just I if anyone has any doubt, just speak, please ping in. I hope there are no doubts. Okay. So if you have any doubts, please ping in, or you can reach out to me on my LinkedIn or anyhow. Okay. So next thing is basically identity, access, and security. One of the most important chapters in terms of cloud. Okay. So things we are going to learn: AD, authentications, conditional access, role-based access, and so on. What happened? Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible. So maybe guys, there is a technical glitch from Deep sir, right? So we are just waiting him to join again. So till then, if anyone has any doubt or any query, please let me know in the comment section. We'll be happy to take up your doubts. Until then, we have something special for you, so you can just join our Discord link. So this is our Discord channel where we have some really great experts who can help you out in building your cloud journey roadmap and everything. So they can just understand how you are doing, where you are at, and what languages you are learning, or what you have done in your past, and how you are just willing to transform your future. So we have some really great experts over there. You can just check out our Discord channel. I'm just dropping the Discord server link over here. You can just check out this link. Yeah, so it's in the comment section. You can just click on this link, join the Discord server, right? And also regarding the Azure certification. So for this, you'll be getting a certificate. Yes, for sure, you'll be getting a certificate, and that will be from Azure Developer Community side. In order to achieve the Microsoft Azure certification, uh, in order to uh, just a second. So just give me a second. Mm, yeah, so I was talking about the certification. So if you want Microsoft Azure certifications, all you need to do is just go to the certification uh, So you need to join the Discord server link. So this is the Discord server link. So after joining the Discord server, you need to go to hashtag agent certification in that server. There is a channel that is hashtag agent certification. There you need to fill some of your details. You will see the step-by-step process over there. You need to fill some details over there, and you can just grab your free certification exam voucher. So this is how you can just simply get your free exam voucher. And next, for participate for, then you can just simply schedule your exam certification. Over there you will find bunch of tutorials over there. You can just check out some, you can just take some practice test also from the Microsoft site. So they have some practice tests for these easy 900, deep 900, 800, and every certification they give. So they have their practice tests. You can just check out these practice tests too. And if you want to, get certified with Azure, so there is something called AZ900, the bootcamp that is going on right now. You can just simply get the certification voucher from us. Then you can just schedule a date that you sounds appropriate for yourself, like maybe in December, January, February, March. So it totally depends on your use case whenever you are willing to, where you are comfortable to give a test. Okay, you can just, so you need to pass the certificate. In order to pass the certification, you need to have at least, you need to score at least 70% in that exam. So there are some basic questions that they used to ask about the Azure and around Azure, about the cloud computing, like what are these services used for, and like how the cloud computing involved, and some, match the following kind of things. So yeah, maybe these kindly guide you. So this is how you can just simply grab your certification vouchers from Azure Developer Community Discord. So I have already shared the Discord server link over here. So rest, sir is here, so he'll just guide you with this. So yeah, sir, stage yours.
Hey guys, sorry for that glitch. I don't know, my system crashed and I had to log in using my other system. Yeah, no worries. So let's continue with our things. We can see one of the advantages we can see in cloud is basically if we have a better, if we have the no hardware issues, we will come. Okay. So if you see here, you can just go ahead and use these things for a better optimizations and so on, right? So with
Sir,
the
I'm, I'm
yeah.
sorry to interrupt you in between. Your screen is not visible.
Yeah,
Could
no,
you share
I
some
didn't
something?
share it, so I am sharing it in a while. I'm sharing
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, guys. So um yep. So when we talk about this identity access management and all, right? So basically, the first things that comes in our mind is basically Azure Active Directory. So Azure Active Directory is when we started out, right? When we were doing the college projects and all. So what we used to do a normal SQL sign in. So what the SQL signing is basically, the SQL will be there. So in SQL, you will be having a user table, the password table, it will match. Okay, but with Azure Active Directly coming into the picture, you don't have to even manage that also. So AD only manages everything. So you just need to store your user into that particular Azure. Okay, so that's how it is. So advantages of this is basically authentication for like you are basically authenticated to use this service or not. You are basically right person or a right employee of. So currently, if I am employee of a Wipro and I'm trying to access a TCS site, it means that I'm not authenticated to use a TCS site, right? So that service also is taken care by AD. The single sign-on. So the single sign-on is basically for one sign-in. So I have multiple applications in the same tenant, right? The portal, or if you observe right in a Gmail. So Gmail, I can give a very good example. So if you uh, click on Gmail, you will be actually seeing the photos, the drive, everything under one sign-in only. So this is what the single sign-on is. Okay, the application management, you can manage the application in a better way. The business to business communications or the business to customer identity services. Device management, so you can see that in device will get sometime pop up. Okay, approve this user has requested to sign in the your system, please approve this and so on. You might have observed when you're logging into Gmail and all, right? So this is how the services can be given by the Azure AD. Okay, so how this works? Yeah, so you have over here, right, automatic background sync whenever you have over this here. So on premises also you can do it. So it's basically Azure Active Directory domain services. So when you want to have a managed domain and all on premises AD to Azure AD, you want to connect these two users, then you go ahead and use this Azure Active Directory domain services. Okay, so basically gain the benefit of the cloud without managing the domains actually. some legacy applications are there which you can't actually migrate. So in this case you can use this. So automatically syncs from the AD. So automatically AD users are there, it will be synced into local users are there, it will be synced into AZ, both the way around. Okay, so this is done by Azure Active Directory domain services. Authentication and authorization, people do have confusions with this things. Okay, so authentication is basically identifying the person or service seeking access to resources, request the legitimate access credentials. Okay, it means that, as I told you, right, I am a Wipro employee, considering I am the Wipro employee, I'm trying to access some TCS website, I'm not authenticated to use this, right? So that's when authentication comes into picture. So it's basically you are right person to access this or not, you are a valid person to access this or not. Okay, so that's authentication. What is authorization then? So authorization is basically, in Wipro, am I supposed to access everyone's service payslip? No. Or in any company, I am just an employee, executive, right? So am I supposed to access everyone's manager's payslip? No, I'm not authorized person to do that. That is done by the management team, admin team, and so on. So they're authorized to do that. So that's basically a major difference between authentication and authorization. Yeah. Multi-factor authentication, so you might have been seeing, so these are the features of Azure Active Directory. Okay, so multi-factor authentication is basically, you go type in into Google, right? So you'll write, okay, it will give you a code. Okay, Google has sent a code to this mobile, please type the code into this. Or the best example for multi-factor authentication is OTP, right? So you type your card details, but again it asks you for a OTP sent to your mobile, right? So this is nothing but the multi-factor authentication. So see here, something you know is basically username and password, yes, you know it. Card details, you know it. Something you possess is basically a card with that OTP, right? That's just valid for 1 second, you possess that information. Give something you are, a transaction, to access to this. So this is the multi-factor authentication. B2B collaboration. So you can see you can just cooperate with collaborate with Azure AD, with by using Facebook, Google, and any other services. Also, you can do it. So it's B2B collaboration, where some business want to collaborate with Azure AD, then they can go ahead and use this. Okay. B2C collaboration. So most probably these days, most of the companies go ahead with B2B collaboration in case of Microsoft, because if you are doing internship in quite some time now, you can see that all the domain name, right? First you will get the Microsoft screen only to log in. Okay, so B2C the communications, it means that from a customer, I'll define some access policy. Yeah, so this is B2C. Okay, now next, conditional access. So what is this conditional access? So conditional access is basically, I can't ideally give access to everyone and anyone. Yeah, so I need to sort of have a conditions. So condition directory is basically bringing things together. So what are the conditions I can set? I can give a conditional access to a user or group of users, one thing, right? Only admin guys can access everyone's space. So that one of the conditions. Only guys from the Europe region can access this particular resource. That is one more condition, the IP location. Only guys from, yeah, Apple or BlackBerry can access these resources. That is the device conditional access. Only this application I can access this particular site. That's application wise conditional access. Risk detection, if multiple pings are there and so on, so then that's a conditional access failed, right? So risk detection. So these are some of the conditional access terminologies what is there in identity, right? So see here, multiple users device trying to access this, allow access or deny access, that's it. To then it goes to the app data. Okay, role based access control. So as I told, right, role based access control is one of the very good access management or access policies, where I can give the access only for certain users, certain apps, or certain users groups, okay, to access that particular resource. So this is specific to Azure resource only, not with specific to application. So one Azure resource that I'm just giving, I want to give access to one particular person only, or one particular group of users only. So then it becomes Azure role based access control. Okay, so this is one of the very good features given by Azure. So how to do that? I'll just go to portal. Let me see. I can um, so I'll just go here. Okay, so you can see here access control. So that's how I can give a role based access here. So view my access role assignment. So I have a colleague called Prajwal. Now I'm just giving him access, something like this. Add a role assignment I'm doing. Okay, I'll just give him a reader. So currently this is my dummy profile only. Okay, so members, I'll select a members. Okay, user group or service. So let me just give Hari. Okay, Hari Krishna, this member, this access. So now when Hari logs in, he can just read this contents of the blob, but he can't do anything else with this blob. Okay, so that is the role based access control. So hope you got this concept of role based access control, right? So basically you can do multiple other operations, but this is one of the ways of role based access control. What he can do and what he needs to do, only you give that sort of permissions. Okay, zero trust. So zero trust is like you can have a central policies. Okay, so you define a policies and you just go ahead with that policy only. Okay, so I can just how I can tell you in a more better way. So basically it's for a better security in the cloud security approach. Basically here what you do, in a classic approach, everything you put behind a jail, saying that it's a secure network. Okay, but here what you do, you access the policies. So one central policies you can keep. Okay, this can be accessed only with this can be accessed only with this can be accessed with only certain policies. So that's how you give policies according to the resources. So that's known as zero trust. Okay, um so basically it's sort of a strategic cyber security approach. Okay, it's more of a cyber security concept where the organization gives a policies level. They mention the policies and that's how the trusts are established. And why this here is basically Azure also provides this sort of policies. Okay, next. Defense in depth. So defense in depth, basically we know seven layers of network, right? Data, application level, compute level, network, and all these things. So as things go down, Azure provides each and every security, each and every I mean for each and every layer Azure provides the security. Okay, so that's how the Azure also gives you a better security and access, um, better security for each and every role. So this is again one more cyber security approach only. So what is this says is that uses multiple layers of security for a holistic protection. So first it starts with the physical. So seven layers are there, no, but basically it's your data and application. So what it does is first it starts with the physical security. Okay, it means that locking the gate, you have a security outside and so on. Okay, next what is there? Next is basically identity and access. So then identity and access, basically um you have your identity, only this particular these guys can access and so on. Next is perimeter, one more level of security will be established. This network level is only IP, firewall, and filter. Compute is basically in the RAM, the processing. I will add the confidential computing, that the data being processed will be only in the RAM and so on. Application level security, data level security. So each and every level security is established using the defense in depth technique. I mean, this is all the cyber security approaches, but these are given in Azure. So that's what Azure tells. Okay, Microsoft Defender for Cloud is basically it gives you automatic things, like it also tells it what is missing in your cloud and so on. So you I'll just type Defender. If I just go here, it will just give me an overview of what I'm missing. So secure score is 0% for now. Overdue recommendation, nothing. No compliance assignment and nothing. So this is like a suggestion box, sort of, because I just, if I just do this, I can upgrade it accordingly for trial, and it will give me a suggestions like, okay, this is missing, this is not missing, you're doing this wrong, please do this right, and so on. Okay, So that is Microsoft Defender for cloud. So it will help you detect malware and so on. Okay, identify and analyze the potential attacks and so on. Okay. Okay, so with this, we have completed the second chapter as well, and we are just left with one small chapter of identity and governance, which we'll be finishing by tomorrow. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed this session as well, and it's good thing that on Sunday people are coming here to learn things, new things and new stuff. Okay, so tomorrow also let's catch up and discuss on the identity max. That's not identity, how the things are governed, basically how the cost is managed in Azure and so on. Okay, so that's it from me from for today. So if you have any questions, please post, else we'll catch up tomorrow.
Yeah, and just to mention again, so what's because I just cleared all the doubts. Just to mention, I'm just mentioning this point again because I got so many emails yesterday about the slides. You'll be getting your slides to your mails only. So please keep checking your mails. You will be getting the updates for tomorrow session in your mails also, like how to join tomorrow session. You'll be getting a YouTube link. You will be getting a calendar invite to join tomorrow session. So you can just click on that YouTube link and you will just and yeah, the one major announcement is from tomorrow onwards the session will be at 6 p.m. So yeah, so this is right. So
Yep, yep.
yeah, so from tomorrow onward, the session will be from 6 p.m. onwards. So you can just join us from 6 p.m. onwards and just you will learn the, as Shor had mentioned, governance and identity management tomorrow about the hands-on part and little bit about multiple things about Azure. And let's rest we are left with some amazing quiz for you where you can just win some Microsoft merchandise. And so thank you everyone, thank you for joining in and thank you for making it to the Sunday evening. Yeah, so it's very late for everyone. You are just waiting for your dinner. So thank you everyone for joining in and thank you for prioritizing your work. And so thank you, sir. Thank you for giving your precious time to us. It really means a lot for us, your kind gesture for the community. And we are looking forward for the tomorrow session, sir. Thank you, sir,
Yep,
joining in.
thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you,
guys,
guys.
bye
Thank
bye,
you.
see ya.
Bye.
Bye.